The moment my boss lowered herself onto my lap, the world seemed to freeze in the glare of tropical sunlight, the ocean hushing as if it too was holding its breath. Sand clung to my skin, my heart hammered against my ribs, and I felt the weight of a decision that wasn't mine pressing down harder than her body ever could. Somewhere behind us, a past she was running from had found us, and in that fragile second, I realized how easily a life can tilt off its axis without warning. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the strange ways fate tests ordinary people, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. I had never planned to be at that beach with her. The trip was meant to be a simple corporate retreat, a forced attempt by our company to dress burnout in bright colors and call it renewal. She was my boss, the woman everyone admired for her steel resolve and effortless authority, the kind of leader who never let a crack show. I was the quiet one in meetings, the dependable presence who solved problems without asking for credit. Our relationship had always been professional, shaped by deadlines and polite nods in hallways, never by intimacy. Yet there we were, far from glass offices and fluorescent lights, standing barefoot where the land gave itself to the sea. The beach was alive with careless laughter and the soft chaos of vacationers, but there was a tension around her that day. Something taut beneath her calm exterior. I noticed it when she removed her sunglasses too quickly, when her gaze lingered too long on the horizon, as if she were bracing for a storm no one else could see. I told myself it wasn't my place to ask. People like her didn't need rescuing. They commanded their worlds with practiced ease. Or so I thought. Everything changed in the span of a heartbeat. 1 second she was standing beside me, the next she was sitting, her sudden closeness. Startling, her posture rigid as if she were balancing on the edge of something dangerous. The reason became clear when I followed her line of sight and saw a man in the distance, his presence cutting through the warmth like a shadow at noon. I didn't know him, but I felt the history between them in the way her shoulders stiffened, in the breath she seemed to hold hostage. She needed cover, and in that instant, I was it. Time stretched. The sun burned, my pulse roared in my ears, and I became acutely aware of every sensation, not in desire but in responsibility. The situation was absurd on the surface, yet beneath it lay something raw and human. She was afraid, and fear has a way of stripping titles and hierarchies bare. Sitting there, I understood that power doesn't always mean safety, and strength can still need shelter. As the minutes passed, memories surfaced uninvited. I thought of my own past, of moments when I had swallowed discomfort to keep the peace, when I had chosen silence because it felt safer than honesty. Watching her, I recognized that same instinct, the urge to survive by any means necessary. The beach around us blurred into a cinematic haze, palm trees swaying like silent witnesses, waves rolling in and out, as if marking time until something broke. Eventually, the man disappeared into the crowd, and the tension eased, but something irreversible had already happened. When she stood again, the air between us had changed, thick with unspoken understanding. She didn't thank me in words, yet gratitude lingered in her eyes, mingled with something like shame for needing help at all. We returned to our group, but the retreat's forced smiles and team-building games felt hollow now. I carried the weight of her vulnerability with me, unsure what to do with it. The days that followed were strangely quiet. Back at the office, everything looked the same, but it felt different, like a familiar room rearranged in the dark. She avoided me at first, not out of coldness, but out of something closer to confusion. I wondered if I had imagined the connection, if the beach had been nothing more than a bizarre interruption. Yet I couldn't forget the way her composure had cracked just enough to let me see the person beneath. When she finally asked me to stay late one evening, my chest tightened with uncertainty. The office was nearly empty, city lights flickering beyond the windows like distant stars. She spoke without ceremony, not offering excuses or explanations, but acknowledging what had happened in her own restrained way. She admitted that the man at the beach was someone who had once controlled her life, and seeing him had pulled her back into a version of herself she thought she'd outgrown. It wasn't a confession meant to elicit pity. It was an act of trust, tentative and brave. In that moment, the power dynamic between us shifted again, not because titles changed, but because honesty entered the room. I didn't fix anything. I didn't offer grand solutions. I listened. Sometimes, that's the hardest thing to do. As weeks turned into months, our interactions softened. She became more human in my eyes, and I think I did in hers too. The office no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like a place where growth, though slow and uneven, was possible. The real challenge came when she chose to confront her past rather than keep running from it. Watching her reclaim pieces of herself was both inspiring and painful, like witnessing a wound finally being cleaned. She grew lighter, more present, and in doing so, she changed the space around her. Our team noticed. Productivity improved, yes, but more importantly, kindness did too. She led not just with authority, but with empathy earned the hard way. For me, the experience reshaped how I saw my own life. I realized how often I had hidden behind my role, afraid to step beyond it. Supporting her taught me that courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet, uncomfortable, and deeply personal. Sometimes it looks like staying still when everything inside you wants to flee. As the anniversary of that retreat approached, I returned to the beach alone. The same waves rolled in, indifferent to human drama, yet I felt a profound sense of peace. What had begun as an awkward, heart-pounding moment had become a turning point, not just for her, but for me. We never spoke of it again, not directly. Some experiences don't need to be relived to be honored. They live on in the choices we make afterward. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you of a moment when kindness changed the course of something fragile, please take a second to like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps these stories alive and reaching others who might need them. And before this story ends, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. In the end, I learned that inspiration doesn't always arrive as a grand gesture. Sometimes it comes quietly, on a sunlit beach, in a moment that asks you to be still for someone else. And when you answer that call, you may find that both of you stand up stronger than before.